In July 1916, during World War I, the Allied forces, led by the British Army, decided to launch a surprise attack on the German forces, who were stationed near the Somme River in the Picardy region of northern France. This was a famous battle known as the Battle of the Somme. The British began the battle by shelling German positions with artillery for 7 consecutive days. During those 7 days, they fired 1.7 million shells. They expected this to inflict heavy casualties on the German forces and cause them to panic due to the surprise attack, to the point that they would be overwhelmed and allow the British infantry to advance into the battlefield without protection. They assumed that they had already defeated the Germans. However, unfortunately, German intelligence had prior knowledge of the attack. They knew the number of British troops that would participate and the type of artillery they had. Therefore, they fortified themselves in concrete bunkers and trenches, making them completely unaffected by the attack. As soon as the British infantry approached, they were met with a storm of artillery fire and machine gun fire from the Germans. The British forces suffered casualties, reaching 57,000 killed and wounded in just one day. The battle continued for more than 5 months after that day. Therefore, the Battle of the Somme is considered one of the largest battles in World War I and the bloodiest in British history. All of this happened due to the leak of information related to the British Army's attack, the number of soldiers, and the equipment they had. One of the obvious or self-evident things is that detailed information or intelligence reports related to armies are considered military secrets. Any information related to the army is protected by strict laws and cannot be disclosed in any way. However, despite this, we find something completely contradictory to this. If you go online, you will find extensive information about armies, the number of aircraft, tanks, and cannons, the type of each, their efficiency, and such information is publicly available and known to everyone, even in detail. For example, if we go to the Global Firepower website, we find that a country like the United Kingdom has 184,800 military personnel, 27,123 vehicles, 213 tanks, 71 self-propelled guns, 664 aircraft, 10 submarines, and 11 warships or frigates. Let's leave Britain and go to Japan. We find that the self-defense forces have 247,500 personnel, 3,766 combat vehicles, 518 tanks, 173 self-propelled guns, 1,459 aircraft, 23 submarines, and 4 warships or frigates. Egypt is the same. The number of military personnel is 4,400,000, with 7,759 vehicles, 5,340 tanks, 1,489 self-propelled guns, 1,080 aircraft, 8 submarines, and 3 warships or frigates. This is not limited to the number of aircraft, tanks, and personnel. Even nuclear weapons are listed. For example, Russia has 5,580 nuclear warheads. The United States has 5,044, and China has 500. This means that even sensitive files have detailed and clear information available. This raises the question, how is this information known? Why is this information not classified? Could any hostile country exploit this information to its advantage in some way? If we go back in time a few centuries, we find that information about the number of soldiers in the army, their locations, or the tools they use was highly classified. This is because wars in the past were shrouded in secrecy. Wars in the past were primarily based on manpower. They relied on direct confrontation and clashes. Therefore, maintaining the secrecy of this information was very important because it created strategic surprises for the enemy's army. The enemy wouldn't know how many soldiers were coming, what they were riding, what kind of weapons they had, and so on. This gave each army an advantage. In short, the number of troops and equipment was a top-secret military matter. But that was in the past. In the modern era, military strategies have changed completely. Now, any army is eager to announce the number of its troops in detail, as well as the weapons it possesses. This is for several reasons. The first reason is that modern military strategies say that disclosing the size of the forces and equipment that the army possesses, or in other words, showing off its strength, is in itself a point of strength and a means of intimidation and deterrence of opponents. So, if anyone is thinking of doing anything to you, they will think twice. In short, if you have heavy, modern, and powerful weapons, it won't matter much if your enemies don't know you have them. That's why you announce them. In fact, this can even end wars and battles before they start. In this case, the value of weapons is actually in preventing war, not in winning it. Of course, this is the best option for any country. Nuclear weapons are a prime example of this. All countries that have nuclear weapons openly declare them. This is because nuclear weapons are truly deterrent weapons. Their role is to maintain peace more than to be used in war. This is because other countries don't mess with countries that have nuclear weapons. In fact, since the 1950s, almost no country that has declared it has nuclear weapons has been subjected to any military attack. They may even attack and bully other countries, but no one does anything to them. This is because countries without nuclear weapons avoid getting into military conflicts with countries that have them. Besides the reason mentioned above, there is another important reason why armies announce their armament. They need the support of the state itself. They need to convince the citizens of the state who pay taxes and so on that they should continue to pay normally and support the army to cover its expenses. This is because armies usually receive huge budgets from states. Also, one of the important things is that many countries announce the size of their forces and try to entice other countries to buy weapons from them. This is especially true for large countries like the Americans and Russians. For example, due to its promotion of its weapons, America was able to make arms deals worth more than $670 billion between 1950 and 2017. The Russians, during the same period, were able to sell deals worth more than $580 billion. All of this is due to their display of the weapons and equipment they produce. Finally, the technological advancements that we are witnessing in the industrial age have made it very difficult for an army to hide information such as the size of the army, equipment, or weapons. This is because such information will inevitably be revealed over time. Now, the question arises, does this mean that there are no more military secrets in armies, that everything is happening transparently, and that everything is out in the open? Of course, the answer is no. Every military institution has secret information that no one knows, such as information related to weapons programs, military plans, the amount of ammunition, the deployment of forces themselves, the 0 hour for any battle, and other secrets. For example, in the October War, the number of troops, equipment, and weapons possessed by each side was known at the time. However, the factor that decided the battle was that those who were not aware were surprised by the coordinated attack that took place from Egypt and Syria. This means that a secret like the 0 hour played a very important role in the battle. And the matter doesn't stop there. Even the number of aircraft or tanks, all of this may not be fully or accurately announced. It's very normal for a country to announce that it has a certain number of aircraft, but in reality, they have many fewer or more. In the October War, for example, the surface-to-air missiles that Egypt used, which were Soviet-made, destroyed the aircraft of those who were not aware. They lost more than half of their aircraft at that time. And because of that, after the war ended, the American Ministry of Defense decided that they had to find a solution for these Soviet surface-to-air missiles. They decided that they had to make a new aircraft that could evade radar so that it wouldn't be easily targeted by surface-to-air missiles. The result of this project was the Lockheed F-117 Nighthawk, which later became known as the stealth aircraft. This aircraft, despite being manufactured in the 1970s, was kept secret by America, and no one knew anything about it until it was used unexpectedly in 1991, when America attacked Panama. The same thing happened on the other side. The T-64 tank, which was Soviet-made, was built in the 1960s in secret, and it wasn't announced until years later. It was a surprise to the whole world at the time. The conclusion is that modern conventional armies have an implicit agreement to announce the number of troops and equipment in a normal and public way, and this is no longer considered a military secret. But of course, this doesn't mean that there aren't other military secrets that no one knows. But that's it. Who made it here? All of you who made it, you're the best. Give us a like before you leave so we can know how many people made it to the end. And don't forget, if you have a question that comes to you in the middle of the night and you're confused, write it to us in the comments below the video so we can answer it.